And happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Welcome to another episode here of Isles Talk. Uh, my name is Paul Kreischer, one of your hosts for this evening. Joining me, as always, the godfather of Islanders media, founder of everything here, Gary Harding. Gary, how are you?
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, I'm always fine. And the real reason why we're doing this show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we owe her quite a bit here. She shares everything with us. She gives out her comments. She's one of the stars in our little chat room here. Miss Angie. Angie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. We're all right here. And no, we wanted to really thank you for coming on, and we love having you as a guest. We love your insight, and me personally, I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say so far this season with the Islanders. So,
Sounds good.
all righty. So, boys and girls, beginning of the season, um, during the Islanders preview, basically came out and said this was going to be a very weird beginning part of the season. Gary, Joe usually profess don't look at the standings until Thanksgiving, game 20, whatever it is, and that's usually true. Um, this was a season, in all honesty, where I had said, don't look at the standings until a little further out because of the unpredictability, especially in the Eastern Conference. But it was suggested to me that we continue to do, game 10, game 20, Thanksgiving, everything else. And the reason why we kind of do Thanksgiving, and now everyone's kind of jumping on board again, as well as that, usually by Thanksgiving, you get a very good indication of who's in the playoff hunt or who's going to be in the playoffs, so on and so forth. Um, believe it or not, the reason why I say Happy Thanksgiving tonight is because usually by Thanksgiving, most teams have played 18, 17, 18, 19, 20 games, sometimes 21, depending on the schedule. Folks, that's tonight. Everything is a week early. You have the Four Nations tournament coming up very soon. Everything has been condensed. The players have been playing more games. So there's been a little more unpredictability. And we're going to go into it. That's all right, Robin. We'll take care of you next time. And we're going to get into that tonight. We're going to go over the standings, Eastern and Western Conference, very briefly on the Western Conference, but we're going to go pretty hardcore for the moment in the Eastern Conference. And for right now, again, I do the point pace. I've been doing it for years. It reduces a lot more stress, especially when you're looking at the standings. So we're going to go basically in order here. The Canes are on pace for 125. The Capitals are on pace for 123. The Rangers are on pace for 121. Florida's in fourth with 108. The Leafs are on pace for 104th in fifth place. In sixth place, the Devils, who are on pace for 102. Tampa Bay Lightning in seventh place with 101. And there are the Isles with 82. Dead smack in the middle, as always. Okay. Rounding out the bottom, you have Boston and Flyers on pace for 78. The Senators and Sabres with 77. Columbus and Detroit both with 73. The Pens with 70. And the Habs with 69. Okay. So, what does that all mean? Okay. First off, in the Eastern Conference, usually you can eliminate a couple of teams. They've just been that bad, that horrible, done. Okay. Gary, Angie, this is the first time, I think, in 7 years that I mathematically cannot eliminate a single team out of the playoff race. There's going to be a lot of educational guesses, a la Pittsburgh, Montreal, they all got their injuries. But from a mathematical standpoint, and percentages,
You're muffling up a little bit, Paul. Try talking again.
can you hear
No,
me
we're
now?
losing you, Paul. All right, I guess I'm going to have to take over until Paul gets his voice back.
Okay, so not mathematically.
Yeah, they're not
Those little
mathematically
minutes,
out.
but-
Okay, there you go. You're back. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, must have been a glitch somewhere.
Can't keep you quiet for long.
No, I wish so.
Yeah.
So, and I gotta. First off, I owe Joe an apology. Joe had the Canes finishing first or second um, in the standings in the Eastern Conference, and for the longest time, I was like, "How is that going to happen? Where was the scoring coming from?" Um, and to be quite honest with you, I made that mistake in my preseason rankings because I did not include Gostisbehere, who signed with Carolina, who is that big offensive defenseman. For many of you know, Joe and I think Gary as well. We want to ghost on this team a few years back, strictly because of his offense. We're going to get into greater detail with that later on. The other
For sure.
kicker was Jackson Blake, Jason Blake's son, playing from the University of North Dakota. He's playing in his first full season. He's currently tearing it up in his own right for Carolina. So where's the offense coming from? It's coming from those two guys, and they're making other players better. So Joe was right on the money. I missed out on Ghost becoming a Carolina Hurricane, and it's because of that offensive defenseman. They're spreading the wealth around. So Carolina's doing very well. Their goaltending is holding up, and this is the difference right now, folks, with the Canes through the Devils and the bottom of the Eastern Conference. The Capitals' offense is above expectations. Their goaltending, believe it or not, is right where it's supposed to be. The Rangers are overachieving in offense. Their goaltending is right where it's supposed to be. Florida, believe it or not, their offense is over expected, but their goaltending is solid. But it's the numbers are correct, even from preseason. The Leafs, believe it or not, they're overachieving both in offense and goaltending defense. They're actually doing better, and so are the Devils. Tampa Bay is being Tampa Bay as far as the numbers are concerned. What's interesting here, guys, is that the Islanders' offense is well below the average of what they were supposed to due to the injuries, but the goaltending is pretty much right where they're supposed to be. And if you look 9 through 16, Boston through the Habs, your 78 teams, your Habs with 69, everyone's goaltending and defense, or at least 0.7 goals below the league average. They're almost giving up a goal a game before the game even starts. The Islanders aren't even there.
I mean, is the
So-
biggest surprise for you when you look at the Eastern Conference this year the fact that Boston is minus 21 goal differential
Yeah,
this year?
even
I mean,
with
for the reason
Corpusalo
why
and Swayman, that
Montgomery
shouldn't
got
happen.
let go.
Corpusalo and Swayman shouldn't even happen.
No.
But again, that goes with what's really going on in Boston. Is it the locker room? Is it Sweeney? It's a bunch of other things. But I like it though, because it's a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess in Boston, and I'll take that.
Yeah. But
So-
Sweeney's going to be on the hot seat next.
Who is?
Sweeney. Sweeney is.
Oh yeah,
He has
oh yeah,
3 coaches.
absolutely.
He's got to,
So
and maybe they need like a core shakeup too.
Right.
One especially with the Islanders too, right? Maybe that's what
Go
they
for it.
need to jumpstart them. It's just a core shakeup. Doesn't have to be now. It could be later in the season, after.
Right. Yeah, they are, Mark. They are putting some distance between us, but I think that's going to change, and I'm going to get into that as to why. But Angie, real quick, give me your thoughts on the Islanders season so far. We're almost at 20 games.
I mean,
It's been a roller coaster of consistent inconsistency. But give me your
I'm just
thoughts.
saying, they're very inconsistent. I do think that they need something. They need some kind of shakeup in the locker room.
Okay.
I think starting to work with Horvat's trainer has helped him immensely up on that first line, especially playing with Horvat. They're with the injuries and at least they're grinding points to stay in the race. If they can keep that up, once everybody comes back from injury, it's, who knows where it's going to take. But as the season's going on, it's going to be game by game because, you don't know who's going to show up. One day they may be on fire and they're, lighting the lamp left and right. And then the next time they may just fizzle out. So, consistency is what Waugh has to bring. But
Bingo.
I don't see. I think they will make the playoffs, but it's
Okay.
how badly they want it will
Bingo.
determine how deep of a run they make. Because I think they have. I think they have what it takes. They, especially if they can just trade out for the goal scorer. But this
That's it.
season, like you said, it's pretty much a wide open field.
Oh yeah. And I think it's going to get worse when that grind actually gets in. Before we get into the grind of the season, Gary, give me your thoughts on almost the first 20 games of the season.
Right. Well, seems like every year there is some team that they use the expression around this time that they're treading water.
Right.
Basically just hanging on, and obviously that's where we are. I think the fact that it's unfortunate that we got major injuries around the game 5, game 10 mark, that, we're in a position that is lackluster and not exciting as this team has been, that they're holding on to things. You just got Alex Romanov back. Duclair hopefully starts skating in another couple of days. So you figure that's another 10 days and he's back. Hopefully Barzal will be skating in another 2 weeks. So, it's kind of like what happens when baseball teams, even make trades at the deadline, or you get guys come back after starting to, getting hurt in spring training, and they come back in July, and all of a sudden this team starts moving in the right direction. We all said it before the season started. We knew where this team could be and where they should be. And the fact that, that number one, you're not putting anybody out of playoff contention in the Eastern Conference, maybe 3 in the West, that it's a totally a league of parity right now, that anybody has got an opportunity, they get on a run and things, will definitely help them. They're at this stretch now. They're going to have a little bit more home cooking coming, late November, early December. So this is the opportunity, you hope, and that with the guys coming back, that things will improve. The goaltending, like you said, has been sound. It's not been super, but it's been consistent. It's been fine. Considering what we've lost, the whole entire left side of the D line, we've made a couple of things, and Isaiah has been a godsend and has done so well, and so is Chalowski and Hutton have done nice contributions to this. So again, any situation, this team could have tanked. We could be sitting right now talking at 4-10-6 right now instead of 7-7-5. But they're holding their water. They're they're on that bubble. And they get things back going. And if they hold on for another week or two, and then start getting everybody back and rolling everybody on the lines that they should be and the pairs that they should be, I think we'll be okay.
And I like that. We're going to talk about. We'll throw out that question of who we want on what lines later on during the show here. But I wanted to get fans normally around this time we go over the numbers, how well the Islanders have been doing, what the weakness is, and this one is actually kind of glaring. I know a lot of people are upset with the third period collapses, and I think a lot of that has to do with the overall scoring and the offense of this team, and the inconsistency. But looking and going over the numbers right now, um, the Islanders, believe it or not, folks, yes, they're on pace for 82 points, but you got to remember by game 70, they were on pace for 87. So despite all of the injuries that they've had so far, like Gary said, and what Angie has said as well, if the Islanders get back to playing healthy and they find a way, the Islanders can basically go 4-2. Well, not 4-2. Let's go 5-2-3 over each 10 game segment if they wanted to, or 4-2-4 for all I care, and they would still do better than that 92 point pace that got them into the playoffs last year. So the thing that has me worried are the younger players. That would be Holmstrom. Yes, he's on pace for 35 points, but he's not putting up the goals yet. Wallstrom on the fourth line, I'm kind of giving him a little leeway. He keeps getting player changes left and right. I need to see him with a consistent line at some point. Granted, his possession numbers haven't been great, but I think overall he's just there to learn how to play some kind of a grinding or defensive style game. Siplikov has been doing wonders, but again, the goal scoring has not really been there for my liking. 2 goals in 19 games is not going to cut it. So they're kind of been given like this Isaiah George moment where it's like, look, just go out there and play your games and we'll see what happens. And we go from there. And because of that, the older players have, in fact, stepped up. We've seen some of that passion finally, like Angie was saying before. But I got to tell you, the one guy who I really want to see a little more passion out of is Noah Dobson. For the first time, guys, when he missed that overtime shot, when he rang off that crossbar, I actually saw him pissed. Like the stone cold look on his face after he missed it. I went, oh, he's finally pissed. Like he wanted that so bad. And Angie, that was kind of going to what you were saying before, that passion that was needed. How much of a benefit having Romanoff on his side again and a ticked off Noah Dobson, how beneficial will that be for the Islanders moving forward if he can get into that moment?
I think he has to get there first, right?
Okay, good.
I mean, that's the thing. He has to get there. I mean, I heard a conversation the other day. They were talking about Trevor Zegras, and they were talking about how talented he is, but yet he just doesn't seem to have his mind in the game. Like he's talented, but his head's not in it. So, and sometimes I think that's what we're seeing in Dobson is he's talented and he has the skill, but some games his head's just not in it to play.
Yep. Gary, give me your thoughts on Dobson.
Yeah, I saw the same thing too. And he's a guy that has had, even though in his junior years and everything, he's had all the experience, he's had all the ability to be the man. And last year kind of showed that he's capable of doing it. But just use a comparison. You look at a Cale McCarr. There are times where, I've seen a couple of Colorado games, and you don't see him. Sometimes he gets lost a couple of shifts, but then all of a sudden it's like the wheels start turning. The mice are running in the head, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. You see the all-star that he is, and the Calder Cup winner, whatever, Norris Trophy winner that he is. And that's what Noah needs to get. You see the pissed offness, but you got to see that on the ice. Maybe he may need a little secret meeting with a former 6'9" defenseman and maybe talking to him a little bit. He does. He's old enough now at 24. He's been here enough, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to get a little whispering in the ear and get him going. But it's the proverbial light the fire under the ass to get his game in gear, and we know he's capable of it. There's no doubt about it. But having Romanov back, I think will be huge. And he needs to step up and step up fast.
Okay. All right. So real quick, the reason why I'm bringing up the offensive defenseman again, and this is going to play into the other younger players and their possible role. The Islanders' offense right now, and this includes Barzal, this includes Pelech, and this includes everyone injured at this point. The Islanders are actually on pace for 245 goals. Far less than what I was hoping for. But the problem is now, as the days go by, as the games go by, and there are no games from Barzal, there's no games from Duclair, that number will go down. Okay? If you're playing by the law of averages, you're only looking at around 207. Okay, so even with the current team that they have,
I was just going to say, you said 245.
What's up?
Yeah, because I was going to say, where's your math?
Probabilities. That's always the percentages. That's actually the proper way to do it. Because at the end, the law of averages.
No, I know. I'm just
meet together. Yeah. Oh. So, and usually, when the Islanders get closer to 240 goals, the chances of them making the playoffs is around 84%. So even by these early numbers, it just means when the Islanders get hot, they get hot. But for right now, it's all streakiness, which just coincides with 7, 7, and 5. The nice thing going on for the Islanders right now is that the goaltenders, Sorokin and Varlamov, are on pace to give up only 225 goals. And when the team scores less than 230, the 93% chance of making the playoffs. So literally, the Islanders are dead smack in the middle, right where they're supposed to be. What are we waiting for? The offense. And again, that's due to injuries. But here is, again, something we've talked about over the years, and we're going to talk about it again so far early on in the season. Some of it has to do with the injuries. When the Islanders defensemen score 1 point or less in a game, they are 2, 5, and 3. That's that 1-to-2 ratio that no one really wants. When the Islanders defensemen, and it can be the same defenseman scoring 2 points, 2 points or more, they are 5, 2, and 2. And as for reference, last year, last year, come here. Here we go. Or 2 years ago, 28, 12, and 8. When it's 1 point or less, it's 9, 23, and 2. Last year's numbers, 33, 10, and 4 when the defense scores 2 points or more. When it's 1 point or less, it's 9, 22, and 4. But here's my question now. When everyone is healthy, we all expected the Islanders to go beyond the 240 goals. We were all kind of hoping for 250, 260, especially with Duclair, Barzal, and Horvat on one line. Who do you want on that first line when everyone is healthy? And Gary, I'm going to go to you first.
When everybody's healthy, I would still leave that first line the way it is. The chemistry,
Really?
even though it was only a short period of time, I liked the way they looked. I still feel comfortable with the lines that they started out with. Haven't said anything, but thank God, that little 1 week school bus trip to Bridgeport kind of helped Mr. Engvall out and got his game back in gear. So now
Right.
now at this point, even though the numbers aren't as great as we expect them to be, you're getting secondary scoring. And that's what you hope to get from him, so that when the guys are better and healthy and everybody's back to normal, you're hoping to get those contributions from the homers and the Engvalls and Casey Cizikas and them. Anything fourth is gravy, but I really felt comfortable with the way those guys look together, and I just can't wait to get them back. I mean, we kept salivating over it during the summer, and we only got to see it for 2 weeks.
Okay, so you are in favor of Duclair, Horvat, and Barzal on one line.
100%.
Okay. Angie, how about you?
I agree. I can see that. I mean, it's been a while. It might take him a couple of games just to get that chemistry back, but
Sure.
I
And you
don't
still,
see them changing that.
I think all three of us can also agree that you're going to leave the second line alone still.
At this point.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you're moving down to the third line of
Lee.
maybe Lee, Pajot, and Holmstrom? Or is there
Or
someone else you want to put in there?
Or Engvall can get his position back.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, that you still got time to let it bake, but
Sure.
Right now he's making a case. He made a case to get dumped down. Now he's making a case to come back, to get his his privileges back, if you will. But Brock and Palmieri are a very good combination together.
Sure.
I like the way they work together. And maybe you put Homer there on the second. Who knows? But yeah. And as Angie credibly said, it's not, the chemistry is not going to happen overnight. Obviously, both of their injuries are going to require a little bit of extra baking in the oven. But again, I'm still excited to see them go. And you still got, you got 40 games in the 40, 50 games left at that point when these guys are back fully, and you're going to have time off in February. So, they're going to be healthy. Let's put the cards on the table and have some fun.
Okay. So then, as a fourth line, I think this is still our biggest Achilles heel here because I don't think we have a fourth line. Holmstrom would be on the bottom, right wing. Let's have fun. Let's go Lee, Pajot, and Engvall on that third line because it worked in the playoffs. We'll see if there's any chemistry working back there. You have Holmstrom on the right, McLean at center, or I'm sorry, Cizikas at center.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Martin or McLean, one of the two. You get 2/3 of that identity line along with Simon Holmstrom. That's not a bad look. And then you can throw in McLean, who wouldn't be under pressure so much to score goals or do that fourth line duty.
Well, again, he hasn't been the point scorer or anything like that, McLean, but I don't think he's been necessarily bad in his job.
No.
Because he never takes a shift off. There's no question about it. He's got that mentality of a fourth liner that he goes out there and gives everything he has. Because he's, the guy that's never had never drafted, never this, never that. He's always had to work his tail off to get where he is. So you're going to get that. So, I think it depends on the night. It depends on who you're playing. If it's a team that's with more physicality, you dump Matt Martin in. When you have, maybe a more a speed team you're going against, you put McLean in. That's the good part of having the extra guys that you can move back and forth depending on what the opponents are providing you.
Ryan just jinxed it. Someone else will be hurt by then anyways. Lovely. Thanks, Ryan. The reason why I'm bringing up the offense, boys and girls, is because I just listed the Isles record when the defenseman scored 2 points or more. This is a loaded forward group moving forward. If the Islanders forwards, and this is going to be more on Patrick Waugh than anyone else, getting these lines correct. If this forward group can start scoring and winning games without the help necessarily of the defense getting involved, that's going to be a big season changer, especially as we get into the grinding part of the season. Because now we actually have a team rolling all 4 lines, and there's not as much pressure on the defense to get as many points as we were hoping for them to do. And I think that, go ahead, Angie.
No, I was going to say that's kind of his style, though. High scoring offense.
Yes.
That was his, that was kind of his Achilles heel when he was in Colorado, was they had a weak defense the second 2 years. And, so it was kind of like, I know he left on his terms, but, he didn't exactly fix it. So it was probably going to be a mutual parting of ways eventually.
Sure. And I get that. Simply Pete, power play and penalty killing running. And I agree with that. But you bring in Matt Barzal, you bring in Anthony Duclair, you're going to help out your 13% power play. That should naturally occur. Okay? A healthy Scott Mayfield, despite what he's been doing lately, will get you those offensive numbers that he's used to giving you. Dennis Chalowski, for his credit, is adapting to the system better, and he's starting to put up more points as well. And I'm going to go with what Gary has been saying, because we have a ton of armchair GMs who are ready to trade Adam Pelech at the moment. And insert Isaiah George. I'm going to go like this. If the offense, and this plays right into what Angie just said with Colorado, if the Islanders forwards gel the way we hope we do, the power play comes alive, and you're going up against a high offensive team, call it the Canes, call it the Rangers, you play Isaiah George with Scott Mayfield. You let the offense, you let the forwards take care of the business, and then you just let the defensemen take care of what they need to do. With Sorokin in the net and Varlamov in net, you've got a better chance of winning. And if you're going up against the teams where the scoring isn't as tight, you can put in Dennis Chalowski whenever you want, add a few more goals to the Islanders, and instead of coming back or having to lose that third period collapse like we've been seeing, the Islanders won't have that because they'll have more goals during the first two periods than they will entering the third. I think there'll be a bigger spread. So either way, heading into games 30, game 40, game 50, the rest of the season, the lineup is going to be on Patrick Waugh and getting the right forward combinations. Because if he can do that, everything else should come into naturally come into play here for the Islanders. And the goal is, at the very least, is to separate themselves from those Bostons, from Buffalo, from Philly, from Ottawa, and whatnot. So I think what the Islanders are trying to do, and maybe when everyone gets healthy, is to eliminate the issue of this team losing when the defensemen don't score any points. And that leads right into what Angie was saying before in Colorado. Yes, they can. They can rotate in and out.
So I want to back check just a little bit on Wallstrom.
Go for it.
I have a question for you. At
Sure.
what point, he's got 208 games played. At what point do you just say, how many more chances do you give him? How many more line mates? How many times does he have to have consistent line mates before you
Who's
make
that?
a determination?
Wally.
Wallstrom?
Yeah, Wallstrom.
Oh, I've had my issues with Wally long before he was an Islander.
Yeah.
Long before he was an Islander.
I mean, 208 games played. You can't keep treating him like he's a rookie and talking about him like he's a rookie. It's kind of
That's the Lou factor that he gets loyal with people. Sometimes it works. Sometimes he has enough confidence in the guys, and the guys give it back to him. But Paul and I have been saying for the last 5 years that kid should never, ever, ever, ever have left college.
Early.
Yep. Somebody gave him a bad set of goods and said he's ready, and he wasn't even close to being ready. To me, he's the 2020 version of Dave Chizowski. And you can go, and you young fans can go look that up. Because that was the man that had unbelievable talent, but between the head, it was dust. And that's what, unfortunately, Wally is. He's talented as can be, but it's never sunk into his head. And, anybody I know that has gone through one of those beanpot schools knows what kind of player they become when they leave there. If they stay the course and go through at least 3 years there, for sure. But and now we're saying the same. Paul and I are saying the same thing about Cole Eiserman. ECAC Player of the Week last week. Yeah. We know he's got as much talent, if not more, than what Oliver Wallstrom had when he came on the scene at college.
But with Eiserman, he knew he knows what he needs to work on. Because if you caught the interview at the draft with his coach at the time, the reason he fell in the rankings they had talked about before the season was he decided to work on his 200-foot game. And with him working on that, he knew he was going to drop because he knew his numbers were going to drop.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the good part about it, Angie, is that he's recognizing it. Yeah. But Wally's been a name ever since 9 years old when he did that little move at the TD Garden in between periods of a game. So I think, unfortunately, your head can help you or your head can hurt you. In his case, I think his head hurt him.
So, and again,
And that's the truth.
yeah, that's again, we haven't talked about the cap situation. We don't know how Lou's going to finagle all of that around. I think that would just be too much for this show, and I'm not really into doing math tonight. Um, yeah, I granted Wally has looked good, but the younger kids have looked good from time to time, but they have not been as consistent that I think we were all kind of hoping for at this point, and that kind of includes Dobson as well.
Yeah, remember, he's still a kid.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I think you're going to see players waived before you see any kind of a trade. Could be wrong on that, but I don't know. With Oliver Wahlstrom, it's a great question. I personally, I don't know. When is enough is enough? Um, is there a future for him? I'll say this now. I think if Wahlstrom is not on this team this year, I don't see William DeFore replacing Kyle Palmieri.
No.
That's not happening. So, if Wallstrom goes, if we don't see an evolution out of this kid soon, good chance you might see Kyle Palmieri come back, even for a year or two. Because he's been tearing it up with Patrick Waugh as his coach. So, putting all of that into play, the forwards getting it together, creating the offense that they needed so that way the defensemen don't have to be as offensive minded. They keep it defensively sound, helps out the goaltenders. Heading into the grinding season, folks, what I'm looking for now, at least in the Eastern Conference, I want to see how Carolina's offense holds up. I want to see how the Capitals' offense holds up because if I'm not mistaken, in Carolina, Anderson, their goaltender, is now injured. Ovechkin is now week to week. The Rangers are still going about their business. I still think it's their division to lose. I think it's their whole conference to lose. The more pressure's on the Rangers at this point. I've been talking to a couple of people with, who know the Rangers pretty well. They're still nervous with their overall defense. They don't want to see this defense when the Rangers don't score or during this grinding season. And again, I think the Devils are going to be tested as well. The Devils have been doing very well. So for me, moving forward here, I think some of these teams are going to dip a little bit. If the Islanders pull it all together, they're going to be better. And I think heading into the season, the playoffs, if there is any, I think the trade deadline is going to be very, very interesting for a lot of these teams. But then coming into the playoffs, I think it's going to be very much of a crapshoot, this Eastern Conference. Because if some of these teams that were on a high, they've been struggling, now they got to get into the playoffs, and then they're meeting an Islander team that just needed offense to get where they needed to be. We got ourselves a battle. And even if it's a first-round exit, I don't think the Islanders are going to be – the Islanders may be a very tough team to beat. They may actually upset, depending on what Patrick Waugh can do with his forwards and depending on what Lou does between now and that trade deadline. Why would she start drinking yet? She's only been on this show with us for 45 minutes. Why would she start drinking yet? Come on.
Did you see the comment?
I know.
In
This
7
road trip
years?
proves it. Yeah.
Nothing.
That's right. And the power play is going to be the big one for me, guys. I think if the Islanders can get on that power play, they're going to be even less on the penalty kill. Granted, Scott Mayfield's got to keep skating and not make those penalties. I get it. You're all going to get me on that. That's fine. But, that power play goes from 13% all the way up to 17, 18%, even 16%. It's going to improve, and you're going to see more wins out of that team. I agree. Palms has probably been the best player. Anders Lee, as Angie said, has been a godsend this year, especially working with the trainers. And a case can be made for Lee. So, Gary, give me your thoughts. Are you a little bit hopeful here with the grind, or is this very much a wait and see? What are you expecting from this Islanders team?
Like I said, and what Butchie said, and what other people have said around, they're treading, and I just think that I'm not expecting much more than 500 until these guys get back. But if they stay at that point and do what they can, whatever positives they have, keep them going. I'll tell you, we haven't talked about him, but I am so impressed with Anders Lee's play this year. I mean, we were saying he was on the way down, but
Sure.
I've never seen him skate as fast as he has this year. He's got energy. He's doing what he should have been doing for years, and getting that big 230-pound butt in front of the net and causing some havoc. And it seemed like he didn't. Not that he didn't want to be physical, but I think he just didn't want to engage in it. Now I think he's because maybe of the situation that's going on, he's recognized the fact that he has to provide more of a factor to get this team moving until such a time where everybody comes back. But I think he's definitely kind of like the Ponce de Leon fountain of youth on this team, that he's brought his game back to where it was, say, 2019, 2018, when he was at his best. So, just finishing up. Of course, we would love to see them streak and do in the right direction. But right now, we know what the limitations are. We know what's the situations. If they can improve the PK and the PP, for a little bit until the guys get back and you get back to normal, just little things can keep your head above that water level,
Right.
and, as the waves are coming, you're still keeping your head above.
Right.
And then when everybody comes back, push.
Right. Angie, we were talking before the show about Anders Lee. Give me your thoughts with him again.
I think the biggest improvement he's had, we were talking about, he switched skills coaches. And so he's moved to Adam Oates, who Bo Horvat uses. So I think that's made the biggest difference for him. And that I think that's helped him be on that top line with Horvat.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's learning how to be on that line and how to be that teammate that Horvat needs. Because that sometimes helps when you use the same skills guys in the outside of the team. So, nice. I think he's just better for it.
Right.
And who knows, you may see Adam Oates come on board.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Have another Hall of Famer around.
That's fine. So listen, Ryan, I'm glad you brought this up. They've stayed in it. I actually have a stat for that as well. Last season, folks, this is with Waugh and both coaches, Lane Lambert and Patrick Waugh from last year. When the Islanders held their opponents to 3 goals or less, they did it 55% of the time last year. They ended up going with a record of 36-5-4. Okay, let me repeat that. 3 goals or less. They went 36-5-4. And they did it 55% of the time. So far this year, unfortunately, due to the lack of offense, they've gone 7-5-2. but the Islanders have held their opponents to 3 goals or less in 74% of their games so far this season. They've stayed in it. They have literally stayed in it. What they're missing, basically, Matthew Barzal and Anthony Duclair. They get that whole first line going, folks. You're probably, hopefully, going to see more wins. And I think that's what we've been missing. There's not enough offense on this team right now to get them through the entire season. We acknowledge that. The kids have struggled under a coach who really wants to win now. The older players who are used to a coach like Patrick Waugh are the ones who are doing very, very well. But like Ryan has said, like everyone else has said here, the Islanders are in their games. 3 goals or less, 74% of the times. They're just not getting the wins. And we've said it before, power play and the overall offense of this team. But they're still in it. But we're entering the grind. We're entering the grind of the season. And what is the grind of the season? It's basically December, January, and February. When it's really winter time, snow is starting to fall. Some places it's earlier, but it's when everyone goes through the routines and everything else. Okay? But this is where the league, that momentum of the top, the first 20 games, sometimes that comes down. And what I'm looking for, folks, especially from the bottom, and Gary, we saw this a couple of years ago, that 2021-2022 season, that first year at UBS, the first 8 teams in those playoffs had 100 points or more. That was a beer league.
Yeah, that
Okay?
was amazing.
If the other teams' defenses that we mentioned before, 9 through 16, if any of those defenses do not improve after this grind and everyone starts trading early, we could see another beer league in the Eastern Conference. And you're looking at maybe the Islanders, you're looking at maybe Boston. I'll give the Senators a little bit of a credit here. Maybe they can do something. The Wings have to show up. I haven't seen the Wings do anything yet. We'll see them,
Well, they're the
tomorrow.
lowest goal scoring team in the league right now.
Yes.
That's very shocking.
Yes. So, for me, heading into the grinding of the season, at least in the Eastern Conference, I'm looking at some of the teams that are in the top. I'm looking for them to come down in their numbers a little bit. And I want to see how the Islanders actually play in the Eastern Conference against the rest of these teams moving forward. Because I think they're going to get better. The system is working. We don't have enough parts. And I think that's what's stalling the Islanders at the moment.
Totally agree.
Beer league and we sell our first round pick. Why? Why?
I don't know. First round pick this year, next season, have to keep the first rounders for the next 2 drafts.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. 2 or 3 would be nice. At least. Me personally, the Islanders have put themselves in a situation where they can just be like the Dallas Stars. Continue to draft your first round picks every year, and you're not going to lose a step. Every once in a while, you are going to get that diamond in the rough. Hello, Isaiah George. And that's going to add to the system. That's going to add to the organization. The Islanders don't really need to trade their first round pick anytime soon.
No.
Before we get into questions, the Western Conference. I'm not going to lie. The Western Conference is going to look like a beer league really, really quick. If the Edmonton Oilers win, in all honesty, 3-4 more games in a row, like we're all expecting them to at some point, I think the Colorado Avalanche are going to be in serious trouble. Utah is going to be in some serious trouble. The Blues are already there. Sharks, Preds, Hawks, see you later. I'm I think those teams would be eliminated much quicker than any of those other teams in the Eastern Conference. I don't think the playoffs are set per se, but any kind of a winning streak from the Flames, Vancouver, and the Oilers, look out, Colorado, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And maybe the Islanders can say hi to Colorado someday if there's a trade partner.
I mean, are you completely surprised by the way that both Minnesota and Winnipeg have started this year out?
I have
Well,
Minnesota
Winnipeg,
making?
once they shipped Blake Wheeler out, changed the culture of
Yes.
the group,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
but
me,
they didn't do much this season in improving their team.
no.
They didn't do a lot at all.
No,
But
but changing the culture can change a lot.
Wheeler, this is year 2 that Wheeler's out, though. But I'm surprised. I mean, because he was already out last year, and I know Scheifele had his issues with management, then got that corrected. But I mean, they are unbelievable, and there's been some games that Hellebuck has absolutely been abysmal, but
Yeah.
for the overall, they're unbelievable. I mean, plus 34 goal differential already. They just look unstoppable. And where the hell did Minnesota come from?
I had Minnesota as a bubble team, but I wasn't sure if they were going to take out the Preds at that time, and the Preds just lost it for themselves.
Yeah, they're a complete disappointment.
And the Jets, I completely missed on them. I kind of had them as a sophomore team, only because I wasn't really sure how coaching and everything else was going to work. And voila, there they are leading the league.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota had a lot of good young kids I was really impressed with heading into the season. So to see them blossom the way they have, kudos to Bill Guerin for that.
Yeah.
And just keeping the team intact. But yeah, for me, I still think it's the Stars. I think
they're basically just going through the motions. I don't think they've even.
Stars are going. I agree with that. I think the Stars are going through the motions. I think the Stars are doing what Florida did a couple of years ago. I still like Vegas. I know Joe likes Vegas.
I have Vegas to win it all.
Do you really?
Really?
Good pick. Vegas looks good to me. I'm not going to lie. That Western Conference Finals, whoever it is, I'm taking off. I'm not working in the mornings. I'm watching those Western Conference games. If it's Winnipeg and Vegas, count me in. Like I'm excited for that. But
we all know what happened with we all know what happened with my prediction last year.
Oh, that's right. He had Edmonton.
I had one goal away.
I know. And you know what? Edmonton, I almost want to compare Edmonton to Pittsburgh at this point, in the sense that we're just waiting for that 7-game winning streak, and Edmonton's in the playoffs, and we'll see where they go from there. I don't think Edmonton can coast. Well, they might be able to, depending on the injuries to the Avalanche, but the Oilers always come up with a one long winning streak. They get themselves into the playoffs, and we'll go from there. I don't know if they can do that this year. They're loaded, but I don't know if they can. I don't know if they should wait. You at least want to get second place, in your division if you can't catch up to Vegas. But again, Vegas, Edmonton in that divisional final, and I don't know, Jets Wild, Jets Stars, either one of them go. I'm that Western Conference. That will be exciting for me. So yeah, Edmonton, they got the taste of it. They did. Vegas is dirty, yeah, but I like that. So, and the Flames. All right, I'll give Randy a little bit of credit here. Well, I'm not going to give him credit. He thought the Flames were not going to make the playoffs. I always liked the Flames goaltending, and their young goaltending is just, yeah. they're
Wolf is a
playing.
godsend.
Yeah, they're playing with no pressure at this point. They're playing with house money that can make them a dangerous team. Who knows where they finish up? But me being the NHL fan, give me Calgary and Edmonton in the first round. Give that to me. That's fine. I'll be more than happy to take Calgary and Edmonton in that first round. Let them go at it. So, all right, folks, that's it for our little talk here on the Eastern and Western Conference and the beginning of the grinding of the season. Look, the Islanders just need more offense from their forwards when they get healthy. Adam Pelech, eventually, when he comes back, I think the offense from the forwards is going to determine what kind of defense will be there each night. If the forwards really start putting up those numbers like we're hoping to see, I think you'll see more of a defensive team. If you want to see the Islanders really put on an offensive show against some of the lower teams, I think you'll see a more of an offensive style from that defense. I don't think it has to be completely shut down, which is where I think Barry Trotz would just have them completely shut down every game. I think Patrick's going to switch that up a little bit.
Is it
Let's
time?
get into what's that?
Is it time for water
Yes,
cooler
it's
talk?
water cooler talk time. This is where you take your questions, comments, rumors, whatever you guys want, lay it out on us. We'll put Angie on the spot too. If there's a question for her,
Yeah.
can the
Come on,
Preds make
guys.
a move? The Preds can make a move anytime they want at this point. Like I said, if the Oilers go on any kind of a winning streak, the Preds are out. Like they're just out. So I wouldn't be shocked if Barry starts making moves. Will we beat Detroit? It would make a good road trip, but I'll take a point. Any kind of a point right now against Detroit is good for me because we got to see them at UBS Arena next week anyway.
Well, Detroit's winnable games.
Yeah.
Yes.
Should be.
Yeah. But again, to Angie's credit, there's got to be enough passion here to take out the Red Wings. You got to want it. You got to want to beat that other team. That's really what this team's missing at the moment when we're going up against lesser teams. And for right now, Detroit is a lesser team than the Islanders. Will Pierre-Emval scores 4 straight? I'm going to go yes.
Bold move. Bold move.
I'm going to go yes. That's not right. Angie, how much money did they pay you to be seen with them? That's not right, Randall. That's not right, Randall.
Just when we thought we were going to give you some props.
Yeah, nope, not anymore. Enval on pace for 68 goal season. No, he's not. He's on pace for 22. He missed a couple of games during the regular, beginning of the season there, remember? 22.
Mike, come on, man. You think he's going to score every game for the rest of the year?
What's going on with Maggio and DeFore? I was hoping a big step forward for them this year. Well, listen, Maggio, to my knowledge, has been playing on the 4th line. I've seen him on the 4th line and 3rd line. That's where I kind of envisioned him for the moment. I like his two-way game. He's starting to get the scoring, but he's not the focus. There's more of a team there right now, and Maggio is, and again, it's not always on Maggio. It's still a development league. Sometimes coaches have players working on specific things. So with Maggio, it may just be his overall game. As far as DeFore is concerned, DeFore, I was kind of hoping that the Islanders would let go of the leash on him and more offensive numbers from him would be happening. It hasn't. So I don't know what exactly Bridgeport has DeFore doing at the moment.
Yeah, 4 points and 14 games -6.
Right.
I think he's the lowest plus minus on the team. Yeah, -6.
Right. Yeah.
Alex Jeffries is having a decent season. He's going where I expected him to be at this point.
Right.
They've had some good contributions. They're 4-9 right now, I think.
4-9 with a 2-game winning streak, and I was asked to give Bridgeport a little more time because there are a bunch of new players coming in together, and there's been a lot of rotation with
Mhm.
big club having injuries and everything else like that. So I would,
Yeah, I've heard the same thing too. It's
yeah,
just
give Bridgeport a little more time.
I hear Bolduc is doing well there,
Yes, he's putting up the numbers.
and he's playing the minutes that he needs to play, and that's
Yes.
important. That's important
Yeah.
to especially for a defenseman's development.
Right. Do we even have a possibility of a deadline move? What kind are we guessing? That goes into what's the cap space? Who's still going to be on LTIR? That's that again. Mike Riley. We're going to make an educated guess here that he would probably be put on LTIR if the Islanders need to get some kind of cap space to make a trade. But then there's that cap mismatch here. Who's going to get sent down to Bridgeport? Who's going to get waived? Is there a trade coming in anyway? Does Lou already have a trade in mind? To be honest with you, we don't know yet because we're still waiting on injuries from Barzell and Pellick and Duclair, and those are very tricky injuries. Those are very tough to really predict when they come back. Anyway, we can get somewhat of a decent timeline, but we'll never know.
Yeah, I mean, you're still so far away. It's really a crapshoot at this point. That's why you just got to stick keeping your head above that waterline and just hope when everybody comes back the things that go, and then you can deal if you want to deal or make a deal or something. You're dealing with you're working with positives.
Right. When will McLean get a goal? Love him, but I think he'll get a goal on Saturday. I think he'll finally break out. He'll get a goal on Saturday. We'll see. When Pellick returns, who gets sent down to Bridgeport? Well, I
Mitchell
think
already
Travis
went
Mitchell.
down.
Yeah,
Mitchell
Travis
went
Mitchell
down
was
already.
already sent down.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine Grant Hutton gets sent down as well.
Yeah, because he's been scratched the last couple of games.
He's been scratched a lot. Not out of place. Also not out of place.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't embarrassed himself at all.
No, but I think he would get sent down. And again, there really is no timetable on Pellick. There really isn't. If the Islander forwards come back and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, with Mike Riley out, I think you can rotate Cholowski and Isaiah George, 6 and 7. If you need that little offensive spark, you can put Cholowski in because Cholowski has really done well in the system and it's progressing and you're starting to see it. With Isaiah George, the offense isn't there yet, but really all you're asking him to do is just play his game. There's no pressure for Isaiah George at the moment, except to just play your game and you go from there. I don't personally following prospects and whatnot, and I know Angie sees a lot of the Ontario Hockey League as well. I don't like putting high expectations on prospects. I hate doing it. Okay. For me, he still reminds me of last year's Mike Riley. He can bring up the puck. Yes. He can control the puck. He can make some offensive plays. He's got some ability, but he hasn't been able to put it together. When I see a player like Isaiah George, I don't like to go one player. One player's like to give you guys like a general idea. But my hope for Isaiah George is a combination of a couple of players. Yes, he's got the speed of say, I'll call it a Nick Leddy. He's got an IQ, I would say a little bit of Calvin DeHaan. But both of you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. I haven't seen a defenseman with this kind of poise or this kind of patience since Kenny Johnson.
I could buy that.
It says,
I could buy it.
Like
yeah.
like this kid, and I'm not putting him at a Kenny Johnson level. I want Isaiah George to be Isaiah George.
Right.
But this kid's got a nice little combination of all three defensemen here. His IQ is what keeps him so poised and in a nice zone. He doesn't get flinched. He doesn't get moved out of the way. And what I like about George for the moment, folks, yes, he's 6', 195. He's Mike Riley right now to a degree, but Mike Riley was thriving offensively in the system. You're just asking George to play his game, and whatever that is, it is for now. But to see that kind of composure, that quiet composure, but still make an impact, I haven't seen anyone really do that since Kenny Johnson.
I think that's a product. That's a product of the Dale Hunter system in London. You know, most guys that come out of that team that are destined for the NHL all seem to have that demeanor, you know, that calmness to them. And, you know, the offense may, like you said, the offense may come, and the mistakes may happen, and they do. You know, for a kid that's only been playing 11 professional games, they're going to happen. But he doesn't, you know, when it happens, you don't see the look of a 20-year-old with a deer in headlights. You're seeing a 20-year-old that says, okay, made the mistake, I get it, correct it, do whatever, and get back in. And you see when he's made bad plays, Tommy Alblin's gone right to him and just talk to him very calmly and just, you know, makes the point. And you could see Isaiah shaking his head. You know,
he's a coach's coach.
He's like, oh yeah, he's a coach's dream.
Well, he's making the most of his opportunity, right?
Yeah,
He wants to stay. So
if you would have told him in late August, early September that come Thanksgiving time he was going to be a regular player on this team, he would have told you were probably nuts. You know, but you know, again, taking the advantage of what's been brought to you. And again, you know, just the fact that in that first game he played, that he had a shift in overtime, that spoke volumes of what the team thinks of him. To put him out there at that time and again, not embarrass himself. It looks like the prospects of an NHL defenseman. And that's you can't ask for anything more than that from a kid like him.
And let's go worst case scenario here for Islander fans. Let's say they send Isaiah George back down. They're going to tell him, look, you were phenomenal. Keep your phone ready. We're going to call you. Something goes wrong, we're calling you back. But this is what we want you to work on down in Bridgeport. We're going to make sure you get the minutes down in Bridgeport so that way you're still playing. And when we're ready, we're going to call you up. He's not going to go down and lose his confidence on that. That's going to be a big confidence booster if he ever does go back down there. And he has to work on some stuff that he'll work on. He's a coach's dream. So I don't think it would be a hinder if he goes down. It might be for the Islanders, but for him personally, he's going to take it all in stride. He's going to do whatever he knows what he has to do, and he knows he'll be back up anyway. He'll go down with confidence. I heard DeFore is playing well. He's doing okay. There are some things I like about him. I'm looking more for consistency. I need more goal scoring out of him. I need more scoring in general with him. Playing well is not enough anymore with him. He's got to do a little bit more. Granted, he's a power forward, but I'm still expecting more from him in his third year. Absolutely. They've stepped up for us, George, Hutton, Enval. This is what I've been hoping for as an organization, especially after 2022. Bringing in players who have played in Bridgeport for a couple of seasons, and then they're coming in and they're not looking out of place. I have been waiting for that now for quite some time, and at some point, you're going to see some of these younger players that the Islanders have drafted eventually replace some of the players on this team moving forward. Does Hutton have to clear waivers if he gets sent down? I think he already cleared waivers, so I think they can just send him down at this point. But I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Yeah, skating with Dufour is always the thing. Let's see here. Should Pellick or Pullock get moved at the deadline if they're not in playoff contention? Both have no trade clauses that kick in until July 1st. You know what? We're in a philosophical moment here. What do the fans want to do? What do the Islanders owners or what does Lou want to do with these players? Do we keep the team competitive, making a run for the playoffs, or do Islander fans want to trade some of these players that with the long contracts out and make room for the younger kids? The problem that I have with that is that we don't have enough younger kids yet. So,
And folks, forget about that $9 million cap hit that you kept hearing. It's not going to be $9 million more next year.
no, it's
You
looking
can't put-
somewhere between 5 and 7, I think.
Yeah. So, if you thought that was going to get you another player, think again.
Right now, I think Gary said something like Duclair's back in 2-3 weeks, perhaps.
Yeah, I think Duclair is supposed to be
Tentative?
skating by the end of this week, which
Okay.
means if he's skating now, that say just put the countdown timer when he starts skating at 10 days.
Right.
And
Barzal
Barzal's
is
probably
still
another week away from that. So then
right.
put the 10-day clock on that.
Okay.
Pellick, I haven't heard a thing.
Yeah, Pellick, I haven't heard a thing. Barzal is still several weeks or a couple of weeks, give or take.
Yeah, Barzal probably, I would say probably 3 weeks.
Okay.
Duclair, 2.
Okay.
I think Duclair's a week ahead.
Right. December 15th for Barzal, December 6th for Duclair.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's about right.
Ryan, you and I think the same way, man.
Getting eaten by more bad contracts. I don't know. We'll see about that. George was in London last spring, captain of the night, so a Hunter product more than Bridgeport, I'd assume. I didn't know. I didn't think Isaiah George was captain. I thought he was
an alternate. I think he was an alternate.
Yeah, he's an alternate.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, he wore the A.
Yeah.
But still was a big leadership person on that team.
Right.
There's so many
no
good
doubt.
things I heard about him all year long, and I'm just so glad, that they get a kid like that.
Yeah. So, listen, we're going to find out the philosophical view of how the Islanders want to move forward. Whether it's trading those older players away, like some fans want, which is understandable. I understand where they're coming from, or they're going to go in a route where I think they're going to go, which is continue to draft, continue to bring up these kids, sign some free agents, develop the depth that this organization needs. It's not just New York. Bridgeport still needs a little more depth. Worcester needs a little more depth. But I think what you're going to see, even moving forward with the cap going up, okay, players like Pellick or Mayfield, we don't want this to happen, but it's going to happen around the rest of the NHL with these long-term contracts. If any of these players get injured to the point where they can't play anymore, those contracts become assets for other teams who just want to get to the cap floor. And then you have moments like Johnny Boychuk. Johnny Boychuk got traded with that one more season left, even though he was on LTIR. You're going to have moments like that. So I think any of these players are going to finish up their contracts? Probably not.
No.
But at the same time, if they get injured and they can no longer play, where we're not wishing on injuries, those contracts then become a plus. And you need that depth. And this is not just the Islanders, it's every NHL team. You need that depth now because some of these players have such long-term contracts. It's not just the Islanders, it's everyone.
Yeah.
You need that depth to replace the players that when they go on the injured list, these kids can come up and do exactly what the Islanders are doing at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
No, they are not rebuilding with Sorokin, Barzell, Horvat under long term. Not at all. Not at all. Siplikov, 3-year, $3 million per. Angie, you want to give Siplikov $3 million a year?
I'd like to see how he finishes the season first.
I agree with that.
Yep.
I mean, he's I'm not really sure what the parameters are, but he's got a performance bonus he has to meet too. So, I mean, I think if he hits that, he could be worth it.
Yeah, retool with the right moves. Yeah, guys, I'm going to go a step further here. I don't think the Islanders necessarily have to retool anymore. They traded away
pieces.
What's that, Angie?
They need to find the right pieces.
Right.
Because I find they're just kind of plugging a hole.
Right. Yeah. They're building now. They're not rebuilding. They're just building with what they currently have. And that goes through the drafts. They traded away their 4 first-round picks. They got Romanoff and George with one of those picks. Okay. The Islanders need to continue to do that. You're going to get more scoring, hopefully from Alex Jeffries at some point, but Cole Yzerman is going to be another one. You still have a couple of prospects in college that are still going for a national championship that may eventually fill in some of these gaps. Okay. Really what the Islanders need to do is continue with the drafting, and then maybe at some point the Islanders really do dip into the free agent market and they make that big free agent signing. Maybe they have to do that at some point.
They need the cap to do it.
Right. But right now, they don't have to.
No.
Yes, Quinn Finley's another one. Quinn Finley, Cameron Berg.
Soon?
I'm sorry, hon?
Do you see Cam Berg signing?
Cameron Berg, to my knowledge, he has rejected the Islanders contract because he was staying in North Dakota for one more season. North Dakota is nationally ranked. They're going for a national title again, and he's from North Dakota, so this was year 2 in North Dakota. But to my knowledge, that's the only reason why he has said no to the Islanders. At the end of the season, we'll see what happens. But it's to my understanding that Cameron Berg has said no to the Islanders because national title, which I'm okay with. Danny Nelson is another one. Exactly. Yep. See, I love it when you guys are bringing up names. It makes me feel good that it's like, okay, we're doing something right around here. You guys are starting to learn all the prospects that are eventually coming up. Talking about Jeffries and Yzerman as prospects, what about the other Bellows and Wahlstrom that did not work out? Wahlstrom was supposed to be this great scorer, and people were delighted when they drafted him. Okay, Reader Digest version. For you guys who have been following this show for years, and shame on you, Jeff. Jeff and I have known each other for years now. For me, college players have got to play a minimum 2 years. Wahlstrom and Bellows did not do that. And they were at BU, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Both at BU, or yeah. Okay, they didn't do it. Kiefer Bellows went to the CHL. Wahlstrom basically came to Bridgeport. And around that time, COVID hit as well. You're in college. You got to learn the 200-foot game. You're going to learn it in college. You're going to learn to play against physical adults in that league. And that's where you got to grow your game. Both players did not do that. And for me, those are always big sticking points. So, as far as I'm concerned, their development before they even got to the Islanders was not great. And I don't know what advice they got. I don't know who they listened to. I don't know any of that. But you hit college, you got to go 2 years bare minimum. No, it's not a new phenomenon. Yes. Prospects are now Jeffries, Isaiah, Nelson, Iserman, Finley. There's a couple more, but they're going to be under the radar.
Nermy with the Knights.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like Ingval. He can score goals, but he's a little soft.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, all right, boys and girls, thank you so much for coming on. Listen, we are not going to be here next week. It's Thanksgiving weekend. The Islanders are going to have a game on Wednesday against Boston. There's no point, and as far as I'm concerned, I may have to work Wednesday night anyway, just in case there is a blizzard coming on Friday. I'm going to take Friday off and work Wednesday. So, Gary, where can they find you on social media?
At IslesMet63. And I hope everybody does have a great Thanksgiving. I will be at the game on Wednesday. So if you're at UBS, stop by section 316 in between periods and say hello.
And we want to thank one of our top fans here. Absolutely. Angie.
Angie, you kicked it tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And where can they find you on social media?
Well, they can find me on X. That's a huge number there, but they can find me. I'm in Bill Brady's Worldwide group on Facebook and at Angie B 2024 on Blue Sky.
Beautiful. So, and folks, you can follow me on X at P_Kreischer. Please, please, please hit that like and follow on Facebook. Hit that like button and subscribe on YouTube. We now have over 100 followers on YouTube. Yay.
Awesome.
Works for us there. Slowly but surely. And please follow us on X as well. The numbers have been growing. The discussions have been phenomenal. So, again, real quick, before we sign off, take a couple of steps back. We know they don't have the offense. Rack up as many points as they can throughout this grinding season. Let's see where this team is at least when the forwards are healthy. We'll see what Patrick Waugh can do, and we'll go from there. Until then, every point counts. So for those of you celebrating, happy American Thanksgiving.
Yes. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone.
For those of you in Canada, happy Thursday.
Yep. Happy Thursday.
And we will see you guys in 2 weeks' time. Enjoy your time off. Let's go, Islanders. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.